You fill every silence. The car ride gets a podcast before it gets a thought. The empty evening gets a screen before it gets a question. You call this relaxation. It is not. It is avoidance, dressed in comfortable clothing. And the thing you are avoiding is the sound of your own mind when no one else is around to distract it. Most people are taught that being alone is a deficiency to be solved, that a full calendar is proof of a full life, and an empty room is something to escape as quickly as possible. Nietzsche knew otherwise. He wrote that the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe, and that if you give in, you will lose yourself. Solitude was never the punishment. The crowd was. Phase 1. Silence is not empty. It is a mirror, and you have been avoiding your own reflection. When the noise stops, whatever you have been outrunning finally catches up. The unfinished conversation with yourself. The decision you've been postponing. The version of your life you know you should be building instead of the one you're currently maintaining. All of it surfaces the moment external stimulation disappears. This is precisely why most people cannot tolerate stillness. It is not boring. It is honest. And honesty is uncomfortable for anyone who has been managing their own awareness through constant distraction. The fear of being alone is rarely a fear of the room. It is a fear of what the room reveals once nothing else is left to look at. Notice how quickly a phone gets reached for the moment a room goes quiet, how automatic the reflex feels, almost pre-conscious. That automaticity is the tell. A genuinely relaxed mind does not need to be rescued from silence within the first 10 seconds of encountering it. Phase 2. The crowd offers relief, not truth. Every time you choose company over solitude specifically to avoid a feeling, you are not connecting. You are anesthetizing. There is a difference between seeking people because their presence adds something to your life and seeking people because their noise drowns out a signal you do not want to hear. The first is connection. The second is dependency wearing a social mask, and it will never actually resolve what it is being used to avoid. It only postpones the reckoning to the next silent moment. This does not mean company is weakness. It means unexamined company, chosen reflexively to escape yourself, will keep you circling the same unresolved questions for years because you never gave them the quiet required to actually be answered. Phase 3. Build tolerance the way you build any strength, incrementally, under controlled resistance. You will not fix a lifelong aversion to solitude by locking yourself away for a month with no preparation. Begin smaller. 10 minutes with no phone, no music, no distraction, sitting with whatever surfaces. Extend it gradually. The goal is not enjoyment at first. The goal is exposure without escape. The same principle used to build tolerance to any discomfort that has been avoided for too long. Notice what arrives in the silence, without immediately trying to solve it or push it away. Simply notice. Most of what surfaces in early solitude is not danger. It is backlog. Thoughts and feelings that have been waiting patiently for a room quiet enough to be heard in. Phase 4. The strong seek solitude on purpose. The weak stumble into it and flee. There is a categorical difference between chosen isolation and imposed loneliness, and confusing the two is what keeps people terrified of being alone. Loneliness is solitude you did not choose and cannot end. Solitude, chosen deliberately, is not the same experience at all. It is closer to sharpening a blade than to being abandoned. Machiavelli observed that a wise ruler relies on what is within his own control. Nothing sharpens that reliance faster than time spent with no one else to defer to, no one else's opinion to check yourself against, no one else's noise to hide inside of. Schedule solitude the way you would schedule any serious training, not as an accident that happens when your calendar clears, but as a deliberate appointment with your own unfiltered mind. Treat it with the same seriousness you would give a meeting you couldn't afford to cancel, because in a very real sense, you can't. Phase 5. What silence gives back is proportional to what you're willing to hear. The people who fear being alone the most are usually the ones with the loudest, unresolved questions waiting in that silence. This is not a coincidence. It is precisely why the discomfort feels so sharp in the first 10 minutes, and then, for those who stay past it, begins to soften. The mind does not have infinite backlog. It has a finite amount of unprocessed noise, and once it has been allowed to surface and settle, the room stops feeling like an interrogation and starts feeling like clarity. This is the actual reward solitude offers, and it is never advertised properly, because it cannot be sold the way distraction can. No one profits from you sitting quietly with your own mind. Everyone profits from you filling that space with their content, their opinions, their noise. Choosing silence is choosing to stop paying that tax. What happens once the fear loses its grip? You will not become someone who no longer enjoys company. You will become someone who no longer requires it to avoid themselves. The difference sounds small. It is not. It is the difference between relationships built on genuine desire for connection and relationships built on the terror of an empty room. And only one of those foundations can hold real weight over time. If you recognized how much noise you've been using to avoid your own silence, comment, "I sat with it." That single sentence marks the first time you stayed in the room instead of running from it. Subscribe if you are ready to stop mistaking constant company for strength. What you find in the quiet, once you stop fleeing it, is worth more than anything the noise was ever going to give you.